Battlefield 6 has been out for just over a week now, and it's already clear the more you play, the more you unlock, and the more there is to learn. And with a recent boost to the speed of progression and XP earned, unlocking guns, attachments, and equipment has never been quicker. So whether you're overwhelmed with all the new, or are just still struggling to get the hang of sniping as a whole, in today's video, I've got you covered. From little tips to help with accuracy, to game-changing advice that makes sniper rifles actually work as intended, today we'll dive more into what you need to know. I will also showcase a few new settings, adjustments, and class updates that have been tweaked since my last sniping guide, so you're just aware of what's working best for me right now. So if this helps in any way, please drop a like for me, I would greatly appreciate it. Now let's kick things off with a very important one. Right now, the Recon class is a must-use for sniping in Battlefield 6. When you're using the Recon, your bullet actually goes where you're aiming. It sounds simple, but compared to other classes, that is a massive deal. Every other class seems to have some level of random bullet deviation. Even when perfectly scoped in, your shot can land slightly off target. Whether that's an intentional design choice or a bug, it isn't clear yet. Battlefield's official Twitter even posted a clip showing the Recon accuracy bonus, but to me that looked more like they were showcasing reduced sway and steadier aim rather than pure bullet bloom, but we can agree to disagree. So if you've been trying to snipe when using Engineer or Assault, for example, and you feel like your snipes aren't hitted, well, you're probably not going crazy. That's how the game is designed at this current moment. So from now on, you are forced to be a Recon when using a sniper rifle. But if anything changes, make sure you're subscribed, and I will inform you as soon as it does. Because I don't know about you guys, but I'd welcome that bit of variety. Oh, and if you are using the Recon for the very first time and want to utilize its steady scope option, by default, the steady scope button isn't actually a map. So head into your settings, go to controls, find steady scope, and bind it to something comfortable. For me, it's L3. When sniping in Battlefield 6, you don't really need to worry too much about bullet drop, and that's because of how the maps are designed. I've been told that compared to older Battlefield titles, the maps in Battlefield 6 are smaller, and so-called long sightlines really aren't that long. For me, most sniper fights happen at mid-range, usually within a few hundred meters. At those distances, the bullet drop is minimal, if not zero. The round doesn't have enough time to fall before it hits the target. So if you're fighting at around 200 meters or below, no matter which sniper rifle you choose, as long as you have the right attachments on, the bullet will most likely hit where you're aiming. And we'll get into those attachments soon. However, you do still need to lead your shots when the target is moving. The bullets travel fast, but not instantly. You know, if someone's running across your sight line or strafing left to right, aim slightly ahead of their direction of movement, the faster they're moving, the more you'll need to lead. So while the bullet drop isn't much of a factor, movement still is. On some of the larger maps, long-range fights do come into play. And that's where bullet drop starts to matter again. Judging that distance takes time and practice. It's not something you can just eyeball right away. Some specific scopes have range markings or notches on the reticle, which are great. But you won't always have a built-in reference for how far the bullet will fall. So the only way to get consistent is through repetition, learning how much to compensate at different distances. But if you are struggling to land those long-range sniper shots, use the rangefinder attachment. Once you've assigned a key or controller button for it, you can zero your crosshairs to match the distance to your target. Some people are even assigning that zeroing button to the same button as their aim or hold breath. So once you click either of those, it works instantly. That adjustment removes bullet drop entirely in relation to your crosshairs, meaning you can aim directly at the head every time, no matter the distance. Which I feel is pretty cheeky. You still need to account for travel time though, since the bullet doesn't reach the target instantly, but using zeroing correctly will save you a lot of frustration and guessing. But for me, as a sniping nerd, that attachment is not something I personally use. I appreciate the satisfaction of figuring out the bullet drop myself and trying to memorize it and build it into my muscle memory, no matter how many times I miss. Now let's talk sniper rifle loadouts. You have the M2010, the SV98, and the PSR. Now in terms of must-use attachments for all three snipers, you want the extended barrel for better bullet velocity, the long-range ammo for less projectile drag, an underbarrel such as the low-profile stubby or full-angled for faster aim-down sight time, and the ADS bolt for rechambering while aiming down sights. This doesn't speed up fire rate, but it allows you to scope back in quicker, to align your follow-up shot with more time to spare, essentially allowing you to snipe faster. The best scope for most maps in Battlefield 6 is the SSDS 6x. Not too zoomed in, but not too zoomed out. The perfect storm for sniping at all ranges. It also has a super clean reticle, much better than that red circle one that is default on the M2010. If you are looking for a higher zoom scope for those larger maps and long range fighting, the 8x is a solid choice. But here's an important thing to know about those high zoom optics. High zoom scopes can totally mislead you when you're shooting over cover. When you're up close to a wall, a rock, or any kind of cover, your scope might be perfectly lined up on target, but your barrel isn't. The scope sits higher than the muzzle, so when you're that close, your bullet can end up hitting the cover instead of the enemy. It's been happening to me a ton, especially when I unlocked the PSR sniper and used its default 10x zoom. I honestly thought I was going crazy. My shot looked perfect, crosshair dead on, but when I checked the footage back, the bullet was just slamming into the cover in front of me and not hitting the enemy at all. So if you're running a high zoom optic, be aware of that. For your final few points, you could throw on a suppressor for silent sniping, a muzzle brake for better handling, or even extender mags for more shots before reloading. Whatever your preference. As mentioned, I personally don't use the rangefinder, but if you do, that's always a great choice for your final attachment. As a general note, at this moment in time, the M2010 is the best sniper rifle in the game for bullet velocity, general stability, and fire rate. But the other two aren't far behind. With the right attachments, they can all have similar mag sizes and the same aim down sight time. But be aware, they all have different sweet spots, which essentially is the distance in which a shot to the upper torso will actually one-shot and not hit mark. I never rely on that sweet spot. I'm always trying to aim for the head for a guaranteed one-shot kill, but it's nice to know that the game rewards you for sniping at certain distances while still aiming high enough on the body. I still haven't got the sweet spot distance fully memorized for each sniper, but for the PSR it feels like it's somewhere between 110 and 150 meters. For the M2010, maybe 80 to 100 meters, and for the SV98 it feels very similar. Maybe a little closer. Now let's talk about something that's holding a lot of players back, and that's laying prone at the back of the map with a sniper rifle. Yes, it feels safe, but it's actually one of the worst ways to play. When you're flat on the ground, you're a sitting duck. Easy to spot, easy to flank, and once someone's got your angle, you're done. You lose all mobility, and Battlefield 6 is a game that rewards movement and positioning. Instead, you want to be constantly moving. Strafing left and right behind cover, changing positions after every shot, staying unpredictable. Keep a low profile, but stay active. And here's the key part. Most of your work should be done out of the scope. You should be scanning, spotting, and centering enemies in your crosshairs before you even scope in. Once your target's centered, then you ADS. Fine-tune your aim and take the shot. That way you're not tunneling your vision on one target and you're able to see more of what's going on in your surroundings. And don't forget, when you scoped in with a sniper in Battlefield 6, the scope glint you give off is very easy to spot. So it's even more crucial to stay out of your scope as much as possible. And with Battlefield 6, every second and every pixel of visibility matters. And that's why running with your knife out is one of the most effective habits for any sniper. The sniper rifle takes up a large portion of your screen, blocking parts of your peripheral vision, but with a knife equipped, your field of view opens up. You can spot enemies, glints, and movement much more easily while repositioning. But it's not just about that visibility. Running with your knife out also improves your speed. When you're carrying a sniper rifle, your movement speed is reduced, so switching to your knife removes that penalty, letting you move noticeably faster across open ground. But remember, when you finally do get into those engagements, health regen in this game is incredibly slow. So if you're coming over from Call of Duty like myself and just still have that urge to ego challenge at low health, don't do it. Stay in cover, let your health start to regenerate, and then go for the follow-up shot. That is a key way to stay alive and continue streaking. Now, if you saw my initial sniping tips video, you'll know that I found 110 to be the perfect FOV for sniping in Battlefield 6, and for me on a 27-inch monitor, that is still the case. If your monitor's a little smaller, maybe try 105. But if you are working on those 150 headshots at 200 meter range challenges to unlock the PSR, or you just love doing long range sniping, I recommend turning your FOV down to the lowest it can go. It gives you a bit more zoom, makes targets easier to see at range, and just helps with visibility when you take in those 300-400 plus meter shots. But once you're done, don't forget to turn it back. You don't want to be running around at 80 FOV. To build the rest of your Recon loadout, you want to make sure you're using the sniper training path rather than Spec Ops. This allows for critical headshots, meaning players can't be revived, a UAV overwatch that spots nearby enemies for 60 seconds, but my favorite perk is the improved spotting. Hit marking an enemy but not killing them will spot them in game and on the minimap, for easier tracking for yourself or easier cleanup kills for your team. And if you've turned up your color intensity in the settings, turning that pale red to a vibrant red that pops, spotted enemies are even easier to see. This is how I see and track a lot of my kills, so make sure you've done that before you dive into your next game. For equipment, C4, Claymore, and Frag Grenade are my recommendations. C4 is superior once it's unlocked, great for blowing up tanks, taking down walls that stand in your path, or even as a last ditch attack in close range combat. Claymores, as frowned upon as they may be, are always useful to cover your flank or a high traffic doorway that will be nearby your location. It's like the teammate you never had. The Frag Grenade is great to finish off a player you've hitmarked who is tagged and is pinned behind cover, but it's also a great deterrent to stop a rushing player from continuing to push. And lastly, the motion sensor is incredibly useful for you and your team to spot enemies in and around the objective, high traffic areas, or maybe even on a sneaky flank. This does regenerate throughout your life, but you can only use one at a time. So make sure it's placed in a solid location that will provide the best intel for your team's minimap. If you are heavy on giving intel for your team, there is other equipment available to do just that. But I believe the amount of spotting I give my teammates with the motion sensor, paired with the excellent spotting traits of the Recon sniper training path, well, for me, that is more than enough to get the job done. And to finish things off, since my last video, I have tweaked my aiming settings even more. For controller players, you may still be struggling with the intense aim assist slowdown, making it difficult to snap on target and making sniping multiple enemies in your scope near impossible, as you're essentially fighting against the game due to that constant sensitivity slowdown. I've now settled the infantry aim sensitivity at 59, aim assist even further down at 60, slowdowns at 40, and zoom snap down to 0. My input curve and acceleration presets have stayed the same, keeping my left and right acceleration set to 60. My infantry zoom aim sensitivity is now down to 64, giving me a bit more precision when I'm aiming down my sights, but my joystick center dead zone is at 5 and axial dead zone still at 6. I still believe the aim assist is causing more problems than it should, and I'm hoping this will be addressed in a future update within Battlefield 6, but for now, the only way to be more accurate with a sniper is to turn that aim assist down. Now, if you would like to see more of my in-game settings, maybe controller layout, the quality, or HUD customization, I have done a previous video which showcased a more in-depth look, which I will link on screen or in the description if you want to check that out. But for now, I think that will pretty much do it. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this helped in some way or another, and if anything massive changes in regards to sniping in Battlefield 6, I'll be sure to update you in a following video. Best of luck.